On yesterday's show, we talked about Denver potentially trading for Saquon Barkley, and today we're going to talk about the other franchise tag candidate, Josh Jacobs. But let me know which running back you would rather have, Jacobs or Barkley. Type their jersey number in the comment section. Jacobs has a new number with the Raiders if he ever plays with the Raiders again, number 8. Or you could type Saquon Barkley's number 26 in the comment section. What's going on, Broncos country? Hope you guys are having a good weekend. On today's show, we're going to have a little fun during the doggest of dog days in the offseason and talk about trading for Josh Jacobs. It sounds backwards because Denver doesn't necessarily need a star running back. They've got one in Javonte Williams. It's just not clear when he'll return and how he'll look when he returns. But the bigger hurdle to get over here is Denver and Vegas going to strike a deal on a skill position trade. It does sound pretty far-fetched. Last year, we saw TJ Hockenson go from the Lions to the Vikings, so it's not too abnormal, but it's definitely not very common. Now, some background information on Jacobs. So CBS Sports listed the Broncos as a Josh Jacobs trade destination, and that's what sort of sparked today's video. Jacobs has not signed his franchise tag worth $10.09 million. The Raiders and Jacobs have until July 17th to get a long-term deal done or any sort of deal done. If they do not agree to a contract at that point, they cannot agree on one past that. So Jacobs will either A, sign his franchise tag and play under it for this season, or B, not sign it, and that creates a whole hullabaloo for the Raiders, which may result in him getting traded. This is what Cody Benjamin from CBS Sports had to say, though. If Las Vegas doesn't meet his demands for a long-term deal, it's possible the team could rescind their tag or explore the a trade of the Pro Bowler on Josh Jacobs. So, listen, when it comes to Josh Jacobs potentially getting traded, one, a trade to Denver seems very unlikely because it's Denver, right? I mean, it's the elephant in the room. Are the Raiders and the Broncos really going to come to an agreement on a star player going to a division rival so that the Raiders can play him twice a season? There's a reason why it's not very common. It's not impossible, like I mentioned earlier. It has happened before, but it's just a little bit too rich for me, right? Hockenson, a tight end, going from Detroit to Minnesota. Okay, those two teams seem like good fits right there. No one really hates the Lions. But the Broncos and the Raiders, they hate each other. The second reason why I just don't think this is going to happen is, well, oh, no, the Raiders are in a jam. Are the Broncos really going to come and bail them out by trading for Josh Jacobs? I don't think so. I think Denver would like to sit back. At least I would like to see the Broncos brass sit back and go, oh, boo-hoo, the Raiders are in a pickle here. Don't run to their aid. Don't give them a draft pick for Josh Jacobs. Let them sputter a little bit, right? Let them sink and try and figure out what to do with this huge headache on their hands with Josh Jacobs not signing their franchise tag. Don't throw them a line and help them get out of the deep end by tossing them a third or fourth round draft pick. So that's my 2 cents on it. But if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. We're going to spend the rest of this video unpacking the idea of trading for Josh Jacobs. But speaking of the Raiders, I cannot wait for week 1. I cannot wait for the Broncos to end the run or end the losing streak against the Raiders. I cannot wait for that post-game show. I know I've already pictured in my head. It's going to have the intro roll. It's going to open up. It'll have the score at the bottom. It's going to have Broncos 31, Raiders 17, and I'm going to have a huge grin on my face. So if you are excited for that, then make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. I want to share more from the CBS Sports article with you guys, though. Garrett Podol wrote, the Broncos already have a talented running back in Javonte Williams. But with Williams coming off an injury that limited him to just 4 games last year, the Broncos would be wise to bring in more outside help than just Samaje Perine on a 2-year, $7.5 million deal. Garrett, let me share something with you. You don't trade for Josh Jacobs for help. You trade for Josh Jacobs because he is a bell cow back in your eyes, right? You don't trade for Jacobs, give up assets, give up picks or players, and reward him with a top 5 running back contract for help. No, We have a new starting running back type of move here. We are closing the book on Javonte Williams, and we are going all in on Josh Jacobs. You do not pay a running back upwards of $10 million in 2023 for help. You pay a running back that much money because he's your new starting running back. He's getting 300 carries a season. Not because, we could use a little bit of help until Javonte Williams gets to 100%. Jacobs could be a nice hand to have around the house. Absolutely not. This would be a move to shake up the running back room, to turn it upside down. Jacobs last year led the NFL in rushing yards, 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4.9 yards a pop. Very good numbers. Great numbers. Who am I kidding? Off the back of 340 carries. But look at what he did previously. The season prior, 872 yards. First year in the league, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, and then took a kind of a step back his sophomore season, just over 1,000 yards, averaging under 4 yards a pop. Unpopular opinion coming through here, I don't think Jacobs is all that. He's never averaged over 5 yards a carry in his NFL career, and all of a sudden, after one great season, I'm supposed to sink my teeth into $15 million a year for him? I can see why the Raiders have some hesitancy. And this is a Raiders organization that is first class in being a bunch of idiots and morons time and time again. But for once, they might actually be doing the right thing here. I'm not all in on Josh Jacobs being the kind of player you give a big second contract to because he's going to go the distance, right? He's not going to flame out like Zeke or Dalvin Cook. Who's to say Jacobs won't be Zeke or Dalvin Cook in 2 to 3 seasons, and you'll be like the Cowboys or the Vikings having to cut a running back because they have a way too big of a contract and they haven't lived up to it. So I'm not in on Josh Jacobs, whether on the Raiders or whether on the Broncos. But if you are in on Jacobs and you're wondering what it could cost to land the former Alabama running back, maybe a future 2025 third-round pick. We haven't seen a running back and just a straight-up running back get traded in a little while, right? We've seen some lower-level moves like Sony Michel, but not an NFL rushing leader type running back. You know what I mean? The last time we had a high-profile running back name get traded, Christian McCaffrey, that's definitely one. That cost some seconds and some thirds going over to San Francisco. But before that, like Trent Richardson, he kind of ruined the running back market. So if you were the Paytons, if you were George and you were Sean Payton, would you do this deal? Would you do this trade? Let me know in the comments. Y for yes, N for no. I'm typing N for no because I don't want to give up a third-round pick. I don't think Josh Jacobs is all that. And also, what about Javonte Williams, right? Like, what do you do with Javonte? Do you trade Javonte Williams now to another team or to the Raiders? Are we really giving up on the former UNC Tar Heel that quickly? I know that the first 2 years haven't been glamorous due to a major knee injury last season that I don't really need to remind anyone more about. But his rookie season, when you look at his stats, I touched on this during our Saquon Barkley episode. Go watch that next. He put up 903 yards off 203 carries. Remember how Josh Jacobs rushed for 1,600 yards with 300 plus carries? Makes you wonder what Javonte Williams could do if he got 275 carries, right? He could turn those 903 yards to 1,500 yards. He could be a top 5 rusher in the NFL. So before we start trading picks away and giving out big contracts upwards of $10 million, enjoy the fruits of a rookie running back contract. That's the whole point of drafting a running back early on, is because you're getting a good player, hopefully, for cheap. But if you trade him away while he's still on his rookie contract, and now you got to pay another running back in Josh Jacobs, you're missing out on the whole boat of drafting a good player and getting a good player. Is the rookie contract. If you trade for Jacobs, you're not getting the rookie contract. You're giving him a huge extension, and you're missing out on Javonte Williams being paid 10 times less than Josh Jacobs. Is Javonte Williams 10 times worse than Josh Jacobs? Absolutely not. So I'm sticking with Javonte Williams. I'm sticking with Pookie. Let me know what your confidence level is in number 33. Scale it 1 to 10 in the comment section. He might not be better than Josh Jacobs in 2023, but he's not so far behind Josh Jacobs in 2023 that you got to give up a pick for him and give Jacobs a huge contract and move on from Javonte Williams. Not happening in my eyes. You guys know what time it is, though. Not first take, hot take. It's only 85 degrees today in Denver. At least that's what the weather boy told me. So that gets us right in that warm plate, hot sand take. We did a hot sand take, I think, on the last episode. So we went with a warm plate take today. And here's my warm plate take, right? You know when the waiter brings out your food and it's like, listen, plate's a little hot. Don't touch it just yet. Josh Jacobs does not finish in the top 5 for rushing yards in 2023. I think he was a bit of a one-hit wonder last year. The Raiders' offense through the air was abysmal. They had to rely on Jacobs. They force-fed him the football. He got a lot of touches that motored him to the NFL rushing title. But no, I don't think he repeats it. Josh Jacobs had never finished, I think, top 5 before in his entire NFL career up until last year. So for me, I am out on the Josh Jacobs hype train. I am not getting on it. I am staying on the platform. I'm staying at the station, waving the train goodbye, and I'm waiting for the next train, which is Javonte Williams, the healthy redemption tour. That's the train I'm getting on.